We are on with Get Down to Business, your place for jobs, entrepreneurship, and small business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business. We are talking to my father-in-law, the one, the only, Moshe Klein. Moshe Klein from Moshe Klein and Associates, the affordable accounting firm. Hi, Moshe. How are you?
Hi, Ellie. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, I'm happy to have you here. Could you explain why bookkeeping is so important to the small business owner?
Absolutely, Ellie. We since 1982, we've been telling small business owners why bookkeeping is so important. First of all, bookkeeping, Ellie, should be like a Bible for every small business owner. Bookkeeping is really the proof that your small business exists and that it has value. Without bookkeeping, without proper basic records, who can really say how much business or revenue is being generated or what the expenses are? And of course, it's so important to do bookkeeping because bookkeeping creates an asset. It's like, the difference between paying rent and owning a home. When you pay rent, you have so little to show for your investment, but when you keep good records, it's like paying a mortgage. You have an asset, something to hold on to that's valuable. Mm-hmm. And of course, ultimately, bookkeeping is the basis for the tax return that has to be prepared at the end of the year.
So what are some of the most common mistakes that small business owners might make?
Oh, common. Okay, great question. There's a lot of mistakes that small business owners make. They may be the best plumber around or the best doctor or attorney or electrician, but, when it comes to keeping proper records, there are some common mistakes that we see all the time over the years. Number one, not doing basic bookkeeping or keeping basic records. That's probably the most critical mistake. Number two, not separating personal funds from business funds. Separate accounts, having a personal checking account for you and your husband.
I'm sure the IRS wouldn't like that, would they?
They don't like it. They don't, and that's very true. And it's all good until it isn't good anymore. And when the IRS says, "Show me why all these deposits are not taxable income," you can't really explain that too well without proper records and separate accounts.
Right.
And also, I think that probably another big mistake that small business owners make is they don't listen to their accountant when the accountant tells them they're making a mistake. So those are some of the things, but I can go on for hours.
For sure. What advice can you offer small business owners?
Well, there's so much. If you're not keeping basic records, Ellie, for deposits and for expenses, I would recommend that a small business owner invest $50 or $100 in the most basic over-the-counter software. It's not perfect, it's not ideal, but it's certainly better than not having any records at all. And if the small business owner is not comfortable working with a QuickBooks file or some over-the-counter software, bring in a part-time bookkeeper to do that. And if you're doing bookkeeping, if there is bookkeeping being created daily, weekly, or monthly, mm-hmm. Have a professional accountant look it over at least once a year, if not quarterly, before the tax return is done. It could really make a difference to the tune of thousands of dollars at tax time if things are recorded and coded correctly.
Well, speaking of an accounting firm, Moshe Klein of Moshe Klein and Associates, how do you keep your fees so affordable?
Oh, that's a great question. First of all, this is our 36th year in business. So, after so many years, you kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work well. So I think we're a little more efficient today than, perhaps we were a number of years ago. So that helps us keep the fees low. But we've also invested over the years in some proprietary technology that we have developed. It's unique to Moshe Klein and Associates that helps us to automate a good portion of the bookkeeping process. And so that helps us keep our fees low as well.
That sounds so handy. Why aren't more places doing that?
Well, I'll probably tell you the number one reason, because it takes a lot of money and a lot of time. It took us probably 2 years and a lot of money to develop that software. So I don't think a lot of accounting firms, have the money or have the interest in spending that kind of time. But we're happy that we did. We actually, I would say, have automated 2/3 of the process. The days at our office of sitting with a paper bank statement and manually data entering every deposit and every withdrawal, those days are long gone. We still do that, Ellie, when we go back several years in time, like in the case of an IRS audit, going back several years, and we can't get the records online.
Thank you so much, Moshe, for joining us on Get Down to Business.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Anytime, Ta.
How can you get from here to there? We've got the answer from the Balance of Nature Traffic Center.
I'm Eddie Manzano in the Balance of Nature Traffic Center on the inbound Edens. Lake Hook to the junction at 22 minutes on